What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're here to talk about Hisuian Electrode in the Love Cup. Hisuian Electrode is a pretty new release being dropped just before Go Tour Johto last month, so it wasn't available for the previous Love Cup because they hadn't released the evolution yet. You could get Hisuian Voltorb, I believe, but you couldn't evolve it to Electrode at that point. But now we can evolve it to Electrode, which has a very interesting typing of Grass and Electric, which is pretty unique, and it gives it some interesting coverage. So I want to show you guys how it plays in general in the Love Cup meta, since it's really a lot of players' only choice, since the only alternative is the Open Master League, which is level 50 legendaries everywhere. Like, I don't have many level 50, I don't have a single level 50 legendary Pokemon actually built at this point, and without those legendary Pokemon it's very, very difficult to compete. You're just depending on dropping on with good matchups. So Love Cup's really the option for a majority of players that aren't just burning money on raid passes to max out those legendary Pokemon or walk obscene distances to earn XL candy with them as buddies and things like that. So it's important to look at all your options when everybody's kind of being funneled into this one cup. Now, I'm not going to be talking about one specific team with Hisuian Electrode that I'm going to be recommending to you guys. These battles are going to be using a variety of different lineups, different Pokemon around Hisuian Electrode, and just seeing how it performs in a few different roles, in a few different lineups, and you guys can get a grasp of how good this Pokemon actually is. If you guys are looking for team recommendations for the Love Cup, I have a couple of videos that I did from when it was available in February. The meta hasn't really changed all that much at all. There are a couple of new additions that have recently been made available, and that is the European Oricorio variant, as well as Incineroar, I believe, and Midnight Lycanroc has been made available as well for the Love Cup, which are quite spicy picks, but I am not currently building these new Pokemon. I do not have the Stardust and resources, and currently I'm preparing for the UK Regional Championships, which are taking place next weekend in Liverpool, which I am attending. I am registered and ready to go for that, and I'm saving, I've got about 500,000 dust I'm sat on right now, and I am waiting to, while I'm building my team, to decide if I need to invest in anything new for that to round out my squad that I'll be taking to that tournament, rather than investing in something for the Love Cup just for a week or so's worth of battles. If any of my UK viewers are actually attending Liverpool Regionals next weekend, let me know down below. I'm looking forward to playing, meeting some people that are passionate about battling, have some great matchups and a great weekend overall. It's going to be a lot of fun. If any of you guys are interested in how the regional championships are going to look and how they're going to go, the UK regional tournament is actually the first one being held globally this year, so I'll be making a video about my experience at it, maybe a bit of a vlog style video talking a bit about the process of the day, how it all goes. I will most likely not have battle footage to show you guys from it, because the rulebook that's been sent out says that we will be logging into devices on site to do our battles rather than using our own phones, probably to stop people having modified versions of Pokemon Go, things like that, that might give them an unfair advantage in those battles, which makes sense, but it will be a bit of a shame to not have access to gameplay to show you guys kind of how the tournament actually goes. I will be letting you guys know what to expect from that, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're wanting to see that when I do get around to uploading that after the tournament next week. So let's get back to Hisuian Electrode and talk about this thing. Now, I had high hopes for Hisuian Electrode when it was first actually revealed by the Pokemon Company when they were pushing advertisements for Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I haven't got around to playing yet, but I do want to check that game out. And Grass Electric, as I said, is a very, very interesting typing, but I gathered I was out catching Hisuian Electrodes and Voltorbs like nobody's business when they were all over the place. And I had one that was very, very good PvP IVs. It was a rank 27 for the Great League Hisuian Voltorb, which I hung on to, transferred loads of others, and then realised that it was about 2 levels too high for the Great League. It evolved to like a 1600 CP Electrode, I think it was 1585 or something, and I was a little bit gutted because I'd already cleared out the rest. I'd just forgotten to take into account the level of the Pokemon when working out which one to keep and hang on to. It didn't help that at that point you couldn't actually evolve, so you couldn't preview what CP the Pokemon would actually go to. But yeah, it's my mistake all the same. So I've had to settle for this Hisuian Electrode, which is 10, 15, 15, which powers up to 1495, so pretty reasonable. but it is quite squishy, this Pokemon. Electrode in general is quite squishy. Most things in the Love Cup are actually quite squishy, with the exception of a few choice picks like Medicham and Lickitung and Chansey. But it's quite squishy, even with more PvP kind of IVs. And if it had like a much lower attack, it still is pretty squishy, to be honest. It can't really take much of a hit, which does it quite a disservice. It does have an interesting moveset in having access to Wild Charge, as well as Energy Ball and Swift. It has Thunder Shock as a fast move, and that's really the move you're going to be going with, because your other option is Tackle, which is definitely more of a placeholder move. You don't want that on your Hisuian Electrode, let me promise you that. Now, the main drawbacks, I think, as well with Hisuian Electrode are that Wild Charge, while usually it's a fantastic move because it threatens to like one-shot things or like get shields and things like that, is that I believe it does a disservice to Hisuian Electrode. I believe it should do better with something like Discharge, just because Wild Charge doesn't really let it one-shot many things in the meta. Like, it can one-shot water types, sure. It can one-shot the flying types, sure. But it could do that anyway with Discharge. And Wild Charge doesn't let it one-shot Medicham, it doesn't let it one-shot a lot of its neutral matchups. It does big damage, but it puts you at a disadvantage because you have to debuff yourself to throw it. Whereas if you had Discharge, you could probably still just throw 2 of them and knock them out, compared to still having to throw 2 Wild Charges and risking debuffing yourself. Energy Ball is a pretty solid move as a secondary choice, nice bit of coverage, and it gives you a nice option of a charge move to throw against the water types and against any rock types and things that isn't going to debuff you. It's not the best grass move around, but it kind of suits it, obviously. Energy Ball and Electrode's a ball, but it's still not the best moveset in general. As well, if you throw Wild Charge and it gets something reasonably low, you're still going to struggle to farm down because Thunder Shock is all about energy generation. It's not very good for damage output. There are a couple of examples in this video where I do farm things down with Thunder Shock, but those opportunities are quite few and far between. Whereas if it had Volt Switch as a fast move, which is a little bit better for damage output as well as energy, there'd be a bit more pressure on people to shield the Wild Charge because you'd have a good chance of actually farming them down after you landed a Wild Charge or doing enough damage preemptively to then knock them out with the Wild Charge. So I think it's a good looking moveset that doesn't play out as well as you'd hope it would in the grand scheme of things. So all this paired up with the fact that regular Electrode is a very strong pick in the Love Cup in general. It's tough to deal with. Volt Switch, Discharge and Foul Play is a fantastic set of coverage moves in general for the Cup as a whole. Not to mention the risk of Hyper Beam one-shotting things if you're willing to run that moveset and live on life on the edge a little bit. I think really regular Electrode is your better choice for this Cup out of the 2. If I honestly had to say which one I'd recommend you build if you haven't got either, I'd say build the regular one, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to liking Hisuian Electrode, but I think it might just be this meta. It might just be the Love Cup meta that it really doesn't gel particularly well with. It might do better in Open Great League, I'm not sure. I'll have to give it a try. But like I said, it just doesn't come together the way I hoped it would, and I had big hopes for this Pokemon in general. Also, bear in mind, guys, that that is my opinion on this thing and it's my experience with this Pokemon, but that doesn't mean that that is binding. You guys might have some fantastic success running this Pokemon. If a Grass Electric with Wild Charge and Energy Ball sounds like the perfect missing piece of the puzzle for the team you've been trying to put together, maybe it will be, because, as I've said, I'm not willing to invest in building new Pokemon right now with the lead up to Liverpool, and there are a few Pokemon that I would consider building to pair up with it that I think would do well with it. Things like, I think Galarian Slowpoke, or Slowbro or Slowking have a lot of play to pair alongside it, as well as a few other choice picks that I just haven't got the time and resources to build right now. So if you're looking at some of these teams I'm running and thinking, what the hell is he doing? What is this team set up? Like, it doesn't seem like a very good balanced team or anything like that. Just bear in mind that it's just kind of what I'm working with and just chucking random teams together, seeing how things play out in the meta. This video isn't designed to be, this is a fantastic team, go use this, it'll get you wins. This is just me messing about, a few different lineups, trying this Pokemon out so you guys can see how it plays, what to expect from it in general. Overall, my performance with Hisuian Electrode has been kind of neutral to negative, averaging, I'd say, somewhere between 2 out of 5 and 3 out of 5 wins per set, so percent per set, going slightly negative overall. And like I said, sometimes it's down to the team composition, sometimes it's down to Hisuian Electrode just letting down the side compared to even what regular Electrode would be able to pull off. Examples of a few matchups that you might not think of that really suffer is Ariados. Ariados being part poison type does very, very well against the grass typing of Hisuian Electrode, and a wild charge does not one-shot. Ariados is pretty squishy, but it can survive a wild charge and you still can't Thundershock down after. So that's a very bad matchup in general for a Hisuian Electrode, because Energy Ball is going to be resisted as well, so you're really stuck against that thing. It can't beat Medicham because you'll die to one Psychic as well as the counters that go with it, even if you don't debuff yourself with a wild charge, because like I said, it's just that squishy, and Psychic hits pretty hard. It takes super effective damage from Talonflame, even though you're an electric type, and it's probably one of the only electric types that Talonflame doesn't have to be as scared of, because that Incinerate damage is going to absolutely smash you to pieces. Magcargo is a pretty neutral matchup for regular Electrode, but for Hisuian Electrode it's a pretty negative matchup for you, because you're going to be taking super effective damage from the Incinerates, or if it's got Rock Throw instead of Incinerate, you're going to be again on pretty neutral ground, but you're going to be feeling some pressure to throw that Wild Charge, and if they shield that up, they're going to be able to chip you down a lot faster once you're debuffed. So again, not the best position to be in. It also struggles to put some serious work in against the Slowbro and Slow Kings that are floating around. I know that they're part water type, but also they often choose to run a Psychic fast move, which is going to chunk you down pretty aggressively, and again, you're going to be feeling pressure to throw Energy Ball instead of Wild Charge to not debuff yourself, because unless they're shielded down, you're going to struggle to take them out, because they're going to be hitting you hard and doing a lot of damage over time. Not to mention that there are a lot of poison types in the Love Cup. There's the Galarian Slowbro and Slow King, there's Ariados, there's Scolipede, and these picks are quite common as being at least one of them on every team to help deal with the Medichams that are absolutely rampant in Love Cup. So Hisuian Electrode is losing on both ends of that. It doesn't really beat Medicham, and it doesn't really beat the counters to Medicham, and that is quite a dominant part of this meta as a whole, so it's quite a bad position for it to be in general, just from that, let alone the neutral matchups that it does also, like I said, struggle to take wins in. It also struggles more than regular Electrode against Druddigon, because even regular Electrode has Foul Play or potentially Hyper Beam to hit for neutral damage against Druddigon, whereas this thing, everything you can throw at Druddigon is resisted unless you happen to run Swift, which you would be running almost purely for that situation. Like, I can't think of any other reason why you would run Swift other than to hit Druddigon for neutral damage, and if you're preparing for that matchup, in that sense, Swift isn't a good move at this point. It's not something I'd recommend you put on Hisuian Electrode, even if you're almost guaranteed to run into Druddigon. I'm pretty sure that's still a losing matchup. If you are going to try running this thing, I would say you put it in the lead or as a closer. I don't think it makes a good safe swap, because like I said, there's a lot of poisons going around that will do a lot of work on it. There's even some fire types that'll put in a lot of work as well, so it's often just not a safe swap in general for this cup. But whereas on lead, you can at least throw a Wild Charge and then dip out, or as a closer, if you can throw 2 Wild Charges and their shields down, you'll knock most things out with 2 Wild Charges for sure, if you can survive long enough to get to them and get them off. Because like I said, you can't really take a hit. Like, if you're against a Medicham in 0 shields, you'll be able to get 1 Wild Charge off, but before you get the second one off, they're going to be able to get a Psychic off at you, and that will knock you out regardless of whether or not you've already debuffed yourself. So really not ideal at all. So apologies to those that have come here hoping for me to say that Hisuian Electrode is the best thing since sliced bread, and actually you've just got me talking for 10 minutes straight about how it kind of fails in a lot of roles in this cup. But I'm not going to lie to you guys and say it's good if it's not, and I did put a lot of battles into this thing in different teams trying to make it work, and I just really couldn't find a team composition that really complemented it. I found that it was holding back a lot of teams, and oftentimes when I was taking wins, it was because the other 2 Pokemon that I pair with it happened to be able to carry those matches for Hisuian Electrode. Some of the only matchups that it does really well in are things like Aloma Mola, where you completely resisting the water damage, and then you can hit them with like super effective energy balls. You'd have to debuff yourself, but you still have to shield a Psychic if they get one off, because again, that's still going to do big damage to you, which is crazy that you can't comfortably take a water type matchup like that. It's with a grass electric, it's just mad. It is just a real shame for this Pokemon. So that's where I'm going to leave today's video. Just let me say good luck to any of you that are competing in your particular regional championships this year. Make me proud, you absolute legends. I know a lot of countries don't have theirs coming up and for at least a couple of months at this point, but still, if you're planning to register, planning to compete, like I said, good luck, wish you the best, and maybe I'll see you at Worlds, who knows, depends how this all goes. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're as disappointed as I am that Hisuian Electrode hasn't lived up to the hype, hit the subscribe button, and I will catch all of you guys next time.